The Mario series has some incredible music. Even the most divisive games in the franchise are almost always praised for their soundtracks. From 8-bit chiptunes to orchestral masterpieces, there's really a bad song here. Let's be real, there are some tracks that just aren't as great. So today I'm doing the unthinkable. I'm going through every mainline Mario game and picking what I think is the worst song from each one. And to clarify, worst doesn't mean bad, it just means I like every other song more. I'm also skipping super short jingles, like when you finish a level, because it feels unfair to compare those to full tracks. Let's start with Super Mario Bros. And the Lost Levels, since they pretty much have the same soundtrack. The soundtrack is small but legendary. It's the kind of soundtrack that's so ingrained in pop culture that even people who haven't played the game know what this is from. Every song here defines an entire generation of gaming, and it's still being remixed 40 years later. The upbeat overworld theme, the mysterious underground bass line, the calm underwater waltz, each one nails a different emotion perfectly. But since I promised to pick a worse song for every game, I have to choose something, and by process of elimination, it's the castle theme. Now, I actually love this piece. It's dark, tense, and fits Bowser's Lair perfectly, but compared to the other tracks, it's just the least catchy in my opinion. Like, the overworld theme is obviously the most famous video game song of all time. The underground theme makes you feel like you're exploring. The underwater theme is just a personal favorite of mine. And the castle theme kind of makes you want to run for your life. It's great at what it does, but it's also the least fun to listen to on its own. And that's not a knock on it, it just shows how strong the rest of the soundtrack is. Even though it's very limited, I think all of these songs are great. Now on to Super Mario Bros. 2. This one's a weird case because it's a reskin of Doki Doki Panic, and not a traditional Mario title, but its soundtrack is just so unique that it stands out even today. There's this like carnival-like energy to everything, from the bouncy overworld theme to the jazzy character select tune, which is maybe one of my favorite Mario songs ever. It just feels like a dream, which makes sense considering, But if I'm being honest, the boss battle theme wears thin quickly. It's just not as creative or as layered as the other tracks. It's a short looping piece that repeats the same bars over and over again, and after a few rounds with Birdo, it starts to feel more like background noise than music. It's not bad, but when everything else here feels so alive, the boss music here just isn't as great. Now for Super Mario Bros. 3, this is where Mario music really hit a new level. Super Mario Bros. 3 just improved everything. It just had so much more music, just every world has a theme, every map has personality, and it's the first time you really get the sense of Mario as a grand adventure. From the cheery overworld to the iconic airship music that still gives you anxiety, it's just legendary in gaming. But then there's Toad's Item House. Technically it's a song, but like just barely. It's a tiny loop that plays when you pick your power-ups, and it's fine for what it is, but not something I'd ever want on a playlist. It's this high-pitched, repetitive jingle that feels like it was thrown together in not too much time. It's not offensively bad. I don't think any song in this video is offensively bad, but it's also not really memorable, and in a game filled with so many iconic tracks, being forgettable is why I have it here. Super Mario Land somehow manages to make those little beeps sound like full songs. Like, the Game Boy was very limited with its sound card. Hirokazu Tanaka composed something completely different here. Instead of remixes of familiar Mario themes, it's got its own distinct vibe. Like, it feels exotic and something like we really haven't seen in the Mario series since. The Birubuto Kingdom theme is one of the catchiest tracks Nintendo has ever made, and especially on the Game Boy. But the one I'd call the weakest is Princess Daisy's theme. It's really nothing much. Like, I just really don't know how to even describe it without saying that it's just kind of meh. Now, if Mario 3 took full advantage of the NES, Super Mario World took full advantage of the SNES from the get-go. This is where Koji Kondo really flexed what the SNES can do, and every song feels alive. There's just something magical about hearing that opening theme with Yoshi's Island's bright melody and realizing how far Mario music had come. The whole soundtrack has this bouncy, optimistic feel that perfectly matches the colorful world. Like, I didn't even grow up during this time. This game came out over a decade before I was born, and this music still makes me feel nostalgic. But if I had to pick one that doesn't hit quite as hard, it's Map 6 Bowser's Castle. And don't get me wrong, it's still a solid track. It's dark, it's foreboding, it sets the mood exactly how it should, but it lacks that charm and warmth the rest of the soundtrack has. It's all tension, no melody, and that's fine for a finale, but it's not something you find yourself humming after you shut off the console. Meanwhile, other tracks like the Athletic theme, Vanilla Dome, or the ending theme are just endlessly replayable, so this one ends up feeling like the weakest link in what is really one of the best soundtracks on the SNES. Now, this game is where the Game Boy soundtrack started to hit its stride. The compositions feel fuller, layered, and way more melodic than the first game. Super Mario Land 2 just has more of a cozy, quirky vibe. Like, the soundtrack was designed to feel like the dream version of Mario World. Every zone has its own personality again. Like, the Tree Zone is great, Pumpkin Zone is spooky, and Space Zone feels mysterious and lonely. But staying on the topic of Space Zone, I'm going with Space Zone 2. It's not bad, but it's too minimal and barely a full song. It's basically just a few twinkly notes over silence, which fits the theme of zero gravity, but doesn't have much staying power. It works in the moment, but outside of the game, there's not much to it. The rest of the soundtrack really is great, and I think this is maybe one of the most underrated Mario soundtracks since I really don't hear people talk about it, but I'm just not the biggest fan of Space Zone 2. Alright, now we're on to legendary games with Super Mario 64. This wasn't just a leap into 3D in terms of gameplay, but it was a full reinvention of what Mario sounded like. The soundtrack has incredible range, like you have adventurous songs, peaceful songs, eerie songs. When I hear songs in this game, I feel like Ego and Ratatouille. And for me, this one's almost impossible to criticize. Like, every song has a purpose, every track is iconic in some way, but since I have to choose my pick for the weakest song, it's Dire Dire Docks. I'm kidding, it's Lethal Lava Land. And I say weakest with hesitation because it's still a great track, it still has that intense drum beat that fits the fire atmosphere perfectly, but compared to how melodic the rest of the game is, this one just doesn't stick in your head the same way. It's more ambient than musical, and while that works beautifully in-game, it's not something I'd add to a Mario playlist. I don't think Super Mario 64 necessarily has the best soundtrack, but I don't think it has really any misses. Like, if this is the worst track in the game in my opinion, it's doing a fantastic job. Sunshine is one of the most unique entries in the series, and the soundtrack is a big part of that. Everything about it screams Bowser's Family Vacation.
I wanna fight that Mario again.
Like, you've got your steel drums, flutes, bright guitar strums. It really makes you feel like you're sitting on a beach at Delfino Plaza. It's tropical and relaxing, but still full of energy. But if I had to go with one here, it's Yoshi Go Round. It's not terrible. In fact, it fits the environment perfectly. It's whimsical, upbeat, and meant to sound like a carnival tune. But the problem is, it's just too repetitive. It loops quickly and doesn't build up or change much, so after a while it just becomes background noise. Compare that to tracks like Bianco Hills, Delfino Plaza, or even the acapella Secret Levels, which are just bursting with personality. And Yoshi Go Round just feels like small in comparison. It's the one time in Sunshine where the music feels like it's doing the bare minimum. Still, even Sunshine's weakest song sounds better than a lot of music in other games, and that's a good problem to have. When New Super Mario Bros. Launched in 2006, it was a huge deal. Mario was finally returning to 2D after over a decade of 3D adventures, and the DS version felt fresh, nostalgic, and modern all at once. The DS sound card was just special, and for those of us who grew up with it, I think I speak for all of us when I say there was just so much more soul in it compared to a lot of modern audio. Like, listen to the athletic theme in New Super Mario Bros. DS versus like the Wii U version. The music here is cheerful and catchy, even if it becomes kind of infamous for the one thing, the bas. You all know exactly what I'm talking about. Those little vocal samples that go ba in rhythm with the music. It's since become a meme, but back then it was actually kind of fun. Made the soundtrack feel interactive, like the enemies were dancing with the beat, which they literally were. Like, the Koopa Troopas would just dance to the beat. That said, my pick for the weakest track is the underground theme. It's just kind of bland, and I'm going to use that word a few times throughout this video. It just doesn't have the atmosphere of the classic NES Underground theme or the energy of later ones. It loops quickly, doesn't evolve much, and the percussion just, I don't know, just feels kind of empty to me. Don't get me wrong, it's not bad, like it's the traditional Underground theme, but it's just not as memorable to me. There are great video game soundtracks, and then there's Super Mario Galaxy. This game's music isn't just good, it's the moment Mario's sound evolved from catchy platformer tunes into cinematic masterpieces. Koji Kondo and Mahito Yokota went all out, using a full orchestra to capture the scale of outer space. Every track feels like it belongs in a movie. Like, Gusty Garden Galaxy alone could make grown adults tear up. And it's not even the final boss theme or anything, that's just a random level in the game. Galaxy's soundtrack hits every mood possible, whether it's heroic, sad, mysterious. The orchestration gives every galaxy a unique theme. Like, this is something I could legitimately listen to. Like, I used to listen to this while studying sometimes. Like, so what's the weakest song in maybe the greatest soundtrack ever? I'm just going with A Chance to Grab a Star, and it almost feels unfair to call it that because the song does exactly what it's supposed to do. Like, it's short and it plays during a small reward moment, but when every other track in the game feels like an orchestral masterpiece, it's just like, it's hard to choose, and I feel bad even picking this one because it's not really like a full song, but I wouldn't call it like a short jingle either. It's just outclassed by other songs in this game. It's just as simple as that. Now something a little less orchestral. New Super Mario Bros. Wii basically refined everything the DS started. Like, it sounds better from a technical level, but like I said, the DS just has more soul. I think I said the same exact thing in another video, but the Wii just couldn't replicate the DS's sound card, but still not complaining. I still really love the soundtrack. A lot of the tracks are also very similar, and the one I'm going to go with here is the tower theme, which may be a surprise to a lot of people. It's not bad, but it's just really slow paced, and it feels like a remixed elevator version of something scarier that just isn't the best song to me. Like, everything else in this game's soundtrack feels alive, and this one kind of just sits there. Like, I don't know why, this song just never did it for me. Alright, now that we have the New Super Mario Bros. Interlude done, let's get back to Mario Galaxy with this time its sequel. How do you follow up perfection? And Nintendo found a way to do that by maybe even making a better soundtrack. I think the first one's a little better, but it's like neck and neck. There's just so many more great songs in here. Cloudy Court Galaxy, the ending theme once again. Sky Station Galaxy, Bowser's Galaxy Generator. But once again, I do have to find a song that I just think is quote-unquote the worst. And my pick for this is Tip TV. Like, you probably don't even remember this one. It's the little tune that plays during tutorial messages. Like, it's not bad. It's more of a sound effect than a song, but it technically is a song. And it's just like with Super Mario Galaxy, like, this song is just here because most tracks here are just so orchestral and so beautifully made, and then this is still a good track. It's just not on the same level. When Super Mario 3D Land dropped on the 3DS, it was kind of a big deal. It was the first time Nintendo tried to blend the feel of the 2D and 3D Mario games. The soundtrack reflects that with its bright, punchy, and nostalgic tunes. Like, a lot of this is just remixes, which is why it's not my favorite soundtrack. The music is built around that signature, almost 2D Mario music, kind of making it fit in a 3D game. With that being said, I'm going with Beat Block Beat as the weakest track. Now, this one's not bad conceptually. It's the level where platforms appear and disappear in time with the beat, which is super clever, but as an actual song, it's more of a rhythm than a melody. Like, I don't really know how to describe that. It's fun in gameplay, but it's not something you'd probably listen to outside of that level. Like, 3D World had a similar level to this, and I like that track a lot better. But besides, this 3D Land soundtrack does have a lot of charm otherwise, even though it isn't the best and it is full of a lot of remixes. But when there's so much great music in the series, like, it gets a little bit of a pass. This is the money Mario game, like literally. Every track in New Super Mario Bros. 2 sounds like it's trying to remind you that coins are the whole point. Like, did I mention that this game really loves coins? And to be fair, the composers really leaned into that theme, like the sound effects, the rhythm, the jingles, it all ties back to collecting gold. It's a fun, energetic soundtrack that fits the game's vibe, but it also might be one of the most repetitive ones in the series. And my pick for weakest song is Coin Rush Results. Now, contextually it's fine, it gets the job done, but like the game itself, it feels more like a remix of something we've heard before rather than a new composition, even though I think this is actually one of the few new compositions in the game, ironically enough, but it's just mostly percussion with very few other instruments. And to close out the New Super Mario Bros. Section with New Super Mario Bros. U, I'm going with Coin Edit, which isn't even part of the main campaign, but it's just kind of boring to me, and I don't have much else to say about it. Like, yeah, the audio sounds better in this game, but New Super Mario Bros. U just feels kind of samey once again. This was the fourth time Nintendo was using like the same motifs. I do really prefer the soundtracks of the first two New Super Mario Bros. Games. Now, if the Super Mario Galaxy games didn't exist, Mario 3D World would have the best soundtrack in the series. Like, it's not my favorite 3D Mario game, even though I really love it, but something that I just think it does better than almost every other Mario game is its soundtrack. Like, I love the jazzy big band style, and I really wish they'd bring that back for more games. Songs like Super Bell Hill and the Histograph Battle are just absolute S-tier songs. I also love the saxophone sound. Those of you who are caught up in Domainy lore know I play the saxophone, so I am very biased. So when I say my least favorite track is Plessy's song, it doesn't mean it's a bad song. It's just not as memorable. Like, the tune fits the vibe. It's lighthearted and adventurous, but it just kind of lacks like the Super Mario 3D World feel. Like, when it's competing with so many just great big band songs, and this is more of a simpler tune, like, even though it's a good track, it's just I don't know what else I could pick here. Now on to Super Mario Run. Yeah, this game exists. There's barely any original music, although a lot of the remixes are really good. My choice here is Results. I honestly don't even remember this. It's just pretty bland like Super Mario Run as a whole. And yeah, I read that really fast, so we can move on from Super Mario Run. And now for Odyssey, Nintendo really did a lot with the soundtrack. Every kingdom has its own distinct musical identity, and the sheer variety here is insane. Like, you've got Latin-inspired brass in the Sand Kingdom, New Donk City song, which I don't even know how to describe, and then you even have full-on lyrical songs, something really unheard of in mainline Mario titles. Like, Jump Up Superstar and Break Free are two of the best Mario songs ever in my opinion. But of course there has to be a low point, and for me that's Climactic Duel. Like, you'd think a track with that name would be this big final showdown, but for a song called Climactic Duel, it's very anticlimactic. I actually had to go back and listen to it to even remember what it sounded like, which says a lot, because most Odyssey tracks stick with you long after you play it. Like, look at like Steam Gardens, Honeymoon Ridge, Jump Up Superstar, which I have to keep mentioning. It just isn't even close to the same category. Still, even though it's the weakest song in Odyssey, it's still, once again, for the 10th time this video I'm saying this, it's not a bad song. Now, Bowser's Fury might technically be an expansion, but it has its own vibe, both in gameplay and in music. The soundtrack feels heavier, darker, and way more intense than a typical Mario title. It's got this almost Zelda-like sense of scale, which perfectly fits the giant open world feel of the game. But within that smaller soundtrack, there's one song that doesn't quite stand out, Sign of Disaster. Like, this is a very bombastic soundtrack. Like, there's so many heavy metal songs here. The Sign of Disaster kind of sounds like it's leading up to that, but it's not the main course. It really is impressive here how even though this game really isn't a full 3D Mario game, I know some people consider it to be a full game, which I don't think makes any sense. There's still a lot of great tracks here. And finally we have Super Mario Bros. Wonder. It was the long overdue new breath of fresh air for the 2D Mario series. After over a decade and a half of new Super Mario Bros. Games, Wonder came in and completely changed things up. Like, the soundtrack is full of life and it's just very unique. Like, yeah, you're gonna have your classic Mario songs here, but it just feels so much different than the formulaic songs we were getting in New Super Mario Bros. But if I had to go with the song that I just think is the weakest here, it's Poison Swamp. It's not bad, in fact, it's got that Wonder feel, but compared to the rest of the soundtrack, it just feels a little underdeveloped. There really isn't much to say for it. Like, you're listening to it now, it's just like very much like background music. But that's every mainline Mario game. Remember that Paper Mario games, sports games, Mario Kart, those are not mainline Mario games. I didn't forget any here. And also consider games like Yoshi's Island, like it's even Super Mario World 2 Yoshi's Island, like I consider to be Yoshi games, not Mario games, so that's why they're not here. And once again, I'm not trying to say that any of these songs are bad. Like, I know someone's probably gonna be upset with some of my picks, and this is all just my opinion. Like, music is a very opinionated subject. It all just comes down to personal taste. So you probably disagree with a lot of this. I wanna know your least favorite songs in every Mario game. Also, if you enjoyed this video, I have a video going over the best songs in every Mario game, so be sure to check that out. And also consider subscribing, liking, as well as joining my Discord and becoming a channel member for just a couple bucks a month. Thank you for watching Domainy, and I'll see you next time.